Live from the Business Radio X studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. John Ray here with North Fulton Business Radio. And as usual, we are broadcasting from inside Renaissance Bank in beautiful Alpharetta. And folks, if you are tired of the mega bank experience, and if you're at one of those banks, you know what that experience is like. You can't find a live person to save your soul. That's just one of those things that seems to be a part of life at a mega bank if you're one of those customers. If you want a bank, though, that's big enough to handle any need you can throw at them, but they're small enough to deliver their services in a personal way, that's what I hear about Renaissance from the clients that I refer to them. So go to renaissancebank.com, find one of their local offices, and give them a call. Guess what? Live people answer the phone. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now I want to welcome Dr. Vincent Zubowicz and Lisa Kahns, and they are with Thrive Medical Spa. And you said I could call you Vince, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Vince, Lisa, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So, Vince, let's talk a little bit about Thrive Medical Spa. How are you serving folks out there?
We've opened the spa just a few months ago. We're a full-service medical spa, and we'll get into what spas are in just a little bit.
Sure.
I'm the primary investor, but I'm also the medical director. So even though I don't perform too many of the services, I'm responsible for all of them. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, I'm responsible for hiring the best people that we can get, and I think we've got a great team.
That's terrific. So let's talk a little bit about your journey and what you've got quite a resume that you built up over the years before Thrive.
That's true. I've never been arrested, so that's good. Anyway, I grew up in Kansas, and then I went to medical school, University of Kansas in Kansas City.
Okay.
And decided during medical school that I really loved surgery. So there's a match program that hooks up the prospective applicants with training programs. I matched at Emory, which is an excellent general surgery training program. In the midst of that, I was asked if I wanted to be a plastic surgeon. And I like plastics, but I never really thought of it. However, at that time, it was probably the best plastics training program in the world. So how could I turn that down? So I trained there, stayed on the faculty for a little bit, and then I went into private practice, and pretty much have been doing that ever since.
And a lot of that practice is here in Atlanta.
It's exclusively here in Atlanta. That's correct.
Okay. And you've taught at Emory, or Emory University. You've got extensive experience there.
Yeah, when I finished my training, I stayed on for several years as full-time faculty.
Okay.
And then for various reasons, I decided to move on. I remained clinical faculty, which you're not really part of the university system, but they acknowledge the fact that you can offer something to the residents. And then after I owned a surgery center in Buckhead, and after we decided to sell it, Emory asked if I wanted to come back and work with their aesthetic unit. And so I said yes, and was back on the university track. And after a while, they decided that they didn't want to do aesthetic surgery anymore, which was, by the way, a big mistake. So I'm back on my own. And at that time, the nature of the practice of aesthetic surgery has changed so much where you just can't go and do it on your own. There's too many services that you have to provide that require other people. And we thought, let's do it the right way. So we opened Thrive.
So you opened Thrive, a couple of months ago now? In December of 2023.
Correct.
So let's get to some definitions here, because if listeners out there are like me, they're confused, and I'm easily confused. Aesthetic surgery, plastic surgery, medical spa. Let's get into what all the differences, if there are any, in these terms are.
Okay, I'm a board-certified plastic and reconstructive surgeon. And in a very general sense, we divide into the reconstructive part. And when I started, that was really considered the premier place to be. In fact, cosmetic surgery was rather simple, and those that did it were second-tier surgeons. That's all changed. So when we talk about cosmetic surgery or aesthetic surgery, they're pretty much synonymous. And then what was the other part that you asked me?
Aesthetic surgery, then plastic surgery, then medical spa.
Okay. Medical spa it's a real broad term because a medical spa can offer any one or a number of services. It can be skincare. It can be skincare plus skin services. There's health and wellness, which we offer. There can be surgical procedures, and there's inject Botox and fillers and so forth. And in our particular case, not only that, we can inject fat in certain circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it would be real easy for the average consumer to be confused. And there's a wide variety of qualifications in some of these businesses and a wide variety of services that aren't, let's just say, performed by people that have the kind of qualifications that you and your colleagues have at Thrive Medical Spa. Is that a fair way to say it?
It's absolutely
I'm
true.
trying to be nice about this.
Yeah, and for the most part, the people that are in the business are good, but it's caveat emptor.
Right.
There are rules and regulations, but the bureaucrats that made them don't seem to want to go out in the street and see that they're upheld. And for instance, I'm a medical director of a med spa, and our job is to make people feel better about themselves and do it safely.
Yeah.
We don't save anybody's lives or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are med spas who have medical directors that are dentists, other
veterinarians.
Even I haven't heard of that one yet. Yeah. I've had a vested interest in all these things for decades, and now someone will say, we need a medical director. Do you mind doing it? So they get the medical directorship on paper, but the medical director may never even show up. I'm on the premises all the time. Yeah. So it's a Wild West, and I think people need to really do their homework. And I've been involved in some circumstances where my opinion was asked about something went wrong, and there were things done by practitioners that weren't qualified to do what they did to the patient, and it created problems. And so you have to be really careful about that.
Let's talk about what folks should do. How do they determine what should they look for as they do their homework?
I think if they know someone who's attended one of the medical spas and got good service, I think that's probably the best thing, because you can get a lot of likes on social media and be lousy. So I don't think I necessarily would go there. And then I think just check the credentials of the people that are in the spa. On our webpage, we have list who they are, what their credentials are, how long they've been doing it.
Right.
If you get somebody who has been in the business for 6 months, they could be very good, but they are by definition inexperienced.
Yeah, and again, Thrive Medical Spa has been around a short period of time, but you and your colleagues have a long resume of achievement in this field.
Yeah, when I decided to go that route, many of the people that are employed there now, I've worked with over the years. And their careers have evolved too. We had some nurses that just helped me in the office, but then they learned to do injectables and they got better at it and better at it. So when I opened the Thrive Med Spa, it all congealed. And I have estheticians and injectors that have been around for a long time. Plus I know them and I know that they're good.
Dr. Vincent Zubowicz is with us, folks. He is the medical director at Thrive Medical Spa. So you mentioned the word evolution, and I think that's a key word in this industry, isn't it?
Yes.
The development has been profound, really, over the last couple of decades, has it not?
It has. When I started in plastic surgery, as far as aesthetic operations went, there were a few that were fairly standard. There were no injectables. There was no Botox. There were no fillers. Skincare was primarily facials. And all that is totally changed. It's gotten very complex. We have skincare products that are made by multiple manufacturers, multiple compositions for different types of skin. And to choose the right one, you need someone who is knowledgeable and experienced. The estheticians who used to do facials only do all sorts of procedures that can even be invasive. They'll take electromagnetic energy like a laser, ultrasound, and deliver it to the dermis. And that can be potentially dangerous if it's not done properly. I don't want to be responsible for doing all those procedures. So my job is to oversee and take responsibility for it, but we hire people that have great experience in it. As I said, when I started, there were no injectables. Botox, I think every other person on the street gets Botox, and then fillers have become very popular. There's a broad number of fillers. They have different uses in different locations on the face and on the body, and you really need to know someone who can pick the right filler for the particular job.
For those that don't know, let's talk about the difference between Botox and fillers.
Sure. Injectable treatments are basically, they're two separate avenues. One are what are called neuromodulators. Botox is an example where you inject the toxin to deactivate the muscle that generates an unwanted facial expression, like the scowl lines you get on your forehead. Fillers are different. They actually are volume enhancers, and they come in different packages depending on what part of the face or body you want to enhance. Mm-hmm. So those are the two broad avenues.
Got it. And what are let's take it into some other technology advances that you've had here. And one of those I know is laser.
Correct.
So when did laser surgery become technologically possible, and how has that evolved?
When I was in the 80s, when I was just finishing, lasers started to come into the aesthetic field. And the one laser that we had was a CO2 laser. The way lasers work, it takes an electromagnetic energy and it targets a molecule. In this case, the molecule is water, and water's everywhere in the skin. Mm-hmm. And plus, it delivered what's called an ablative pattern, meaning every single square millimeter of the skin's treated. So that was what we had. And over the years, we developed lasers that would target different colors. For instance, if you have a red spot, you treat the hemoglobin, which is in the blood. So it's very specific. It gets to be targeted. Also, they've come up with different patterns so that you can do softer resurfacing. And then it's not just lasers. We have other forms of electromagnetic energy like ultrasound, radio frequency, and so forth. So that whole field is very complicated. And also, it's very expensive. These lasers don't come cheap.
I can imagine. So you've talked about Botox, you've talked about fillers, you've talked about lasers, ultrasound. It's a little overwhelming for those that don't know. Particularly, they just want to get some cosmetic improvements. So what happens when a patient comes in and says, this is what I want done? How do you walk them through what the possibilities are? And then how do you recommend a particular procedure?
First of all, at Thrive, we're vertically integrated. So if you go to a spa where the only thing they have is some sort of a facial, guess what they're going to suggest that you get? We have everything. So what happens is when the patients come in, we hand them a mirror and say, tell us what you don't like. And then we can explore the various options. What we want to do is marry a simple problem with a simple solution. And if you have a complex problem, something that requires an operation, we want to let them know this is how you fix it. It's more complicated than just putting eye cream on it. And so that's how we handle each individual patient.
And how often does it get to the point of an operation? And is that something you handle, but maybe not at the med spa itself, but another surgical unit, or how does that work?
Again, surgery is the last thing we want to go to because it's the most expensive, most invasive, and so forth, although modern operations are very safe. I do most of my operations at Thrive under what's called oral sedation. In other words, the patients don't go to sleep, but we orally medicate them, and we have techniques to make the operations not pain-free but very comfortable. Okay. There are bigger operations like a full facelift that I would put the patient to sleep for.
Yeah.
But the important thing is that you really marry the problem with the proper solution. And we have all the solutions. And so if a patient comes in, we can send them into whichever provider is going to take the best care of them.
It sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, but it sounds like that over time, this industry has gotten much more precise in terms of its ability to deal with the kinds of improvements that people want in their appearance. And I guess in the early days, it was something much more drastic in terms of the procedure itself.
That's exactly right. Back in the old days, if a patient had a few wrinkles on their cheek, you might say, we can fix it by doing a facelift.
Right.
Which is a really long run for a very short slide. Mm-hmm. Now we have techniques that are done in the office of the patient, listening to the radio and talking to the technician that can fix that problem. So you're right. Things are getting targeted, and as you figure out a problem, you try to find a better and better solution to deal with that specific problem.
Not quite a drive-through, but it's a whole lot better than it used to be.
I think it's much better than it used to be.
Yeah, terrific. Dr. Vince Zubowicz, folks, he is the medical director at Thrive Medical Spa. How does your medical spa differ from other med spas?
I think the thing that I really wanted was to have the vertical integration. In other words, we wanted to offer most or all of the services. And also, the other thing is I didn't want novices. So we've hired people that have a lot of experience. Now, as we add people, we actually have, like our injectors are trainers. Mm-hmm. So if we have somebody that's coming on and is learning, they have a trainer to go to for these particular issues. Mm-hmm. So I think what distinguishes us is the fact we're really interested in the whole thing top to bottom. So I'm not there just to sell facelifts. If they need it, we'll talk about it, mm-hmm. but they're there to get a problem solved, and I can go to anybody in any of the areas that we talked about and see if we can help the patient.
Yeah. So the industry itself, where is it going in terms of the developments that people can expect to see, the improvements in technology that they can expect to see over the next several years?
I think so many things. What's going to happen is, as these become more prevalent, private equity is going to get into it and try to standardize the services that are given. Mm-hmm. I think there's some good to it, there's some bad to it. It just depends. So right. That's where I think it's going over probably the next decade or so.
And is that going to be good for the continued development of the continued introduction of new technologies, or what do you think?
If they're all like Thrive, it's going to be great.
Okay.
You never know. It just depends on what private equity wants to do. They want to make money, obviously. And if it turns out that the introduction of new technology or new techniques is going to improve their profit, they'll do it. But if not, they're not going to go out and spend money just to find something out.
Sure. Got it. So you opened here in Milton. We'll get to the location here in a second. Lisa will help us out there.
Yes, sir.
But why Milton? But besides the fact that North Fulton's a garden spot of this side of the Western Hemisphere, but why Milton?
All right, this is a little bit of this personal. We were in Buckhead, mm-hmm. and we just decided that we were tired of paying property taxes and not getting much for it. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So we moved to Milton and fell in love with it because it's just a great place. They didn't make me buy a horse to live in Milton, so that was good. I get to see them, but I don't have to own one.
That's right.
And it's fairly easy to drive around Milton as mm-hmm. opposed to driving around Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And my office is about 5 or 6 minutes away from my home, mm-hmm. and that's wonderful because I get road rage, so I don't want to be on the road for too long.
Okay. There you go. So and I've been to your space and seen your office, and it's fabulous, folks. I can tell you, it's, to this untrained eye, it looks as modern as can be, and you've got a nice setup there that's very welcoming, I think, to people that are probably people that come in there are nervous, right? They've got a lot of nerves, and you've got a nice, welcoming, calming, I think, facility.
Yeah, I'm going to make. Had nothing to do with that. The ladies did. Lisa, and my wife Christina.
Uh-huh. Shout out to Lisa here, who's here, and Christina for doing a great job on that, because it really is fabulous.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, any other services that we need to talk about that we haven't covered?
We're looking seriously at some of the wellness programs like hormone replacement therapy, and we have to be real. Everybody has to be really careful about that because the science is pretty gray at the moment. It's promising, but I think we have to walk slowly as opposed to dive into it. So we will be offering those services, but we're going to be managing the patients very carefully. There'll be a lot of patients that are going to be turned down because the safety of the procedures may not have been established in their particular case.
Mm-hmm. And how do you monitor that? You're the medical director and you're really in charge of keeping up with the science there. And how do you do that? Because it would seem to me it's flying fast and furious.
It is. First of all, I count on the personnel to keep up, and then they can inform me. But for instance, in a couple of months, I'm going to go take a course on hormone replacement therapy and so on and so forth. And again, I have to, if we offer a service, I have to know what's going on. I can't just say, and a lot of times when they come and they offer you a product or a service, they'll tell you, if you start doing it now, you're going to make X number of dollars. That's not where I start. My first thing is it safe? And the second thing, is it going to work? And once that's established, then we can start talking about the business of marketing it to the community. But I do a lot of reading, and I like it. To me, it's fun.
Yeah. So one question I know a lot of people have is insurance. How does that work, or does it work for the kind of procedures that you're talking about?
I quit doing insurance probably 20 years ago and had nothing. The things that were covered by insurance, which is primarily reconstructive work, I thoroughly enjoyed. It just got to be too onerous to deal with the company. So we don't really, we do everything by cash.
So it's all private pay.
It's all private, yeah.
Got it. I'm sure there are folks wondering that. I figured that, but I'm sure folks wonder that, so I have to ask that question.
We do have there can be some overlap. And so if somebody comes in and insurance might pay for it, I've got plenty of friends who are good, who I would go to that I would send the patient to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're going to help them out one way or the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess the age of your patients, what does that look like? What's the span? Because it seems like the span of ages of individuals interested in these services has expanded.
Oh, has it? When I started, we'd see women for their first time in their 40s and men maybe in their 50s. And all ages. Liposuction is done on anybody that can sign their own consent can have it done. We do most of it in the office. So we have 18, 19-year-old women who have a little bit of fat somewhere they don't like, and off it goes. And we have patients that are around 30 that are getting fillers and Botox. Again, it's one of those things that you have to make certain you understand that what we're going to do is going to make them feel better about themselves. That's the business that I'm in. And there's a lot of psychology that goes into it.
Sure.
But the anti-aging stuff is starting earlier so I don't do facelifts in women that are 40 anymore. It's more like 50 and men closer to 60 because all these ancillary things is pushing that curve to the right just a little bit. So
let's talk to those folks that all they have seen, they're scared to death, don't want to get anything like what you're consider, even though they may be a great candidate for it, they don't want to consider any of these kind of procedures because they see all the horror stories of Hollywood celebrities that have gotten some sort of bad kind of treatment. Let's talk to those people.
Okay. Cosmetic surgery. The bad cosmetic surgery advertises itself. The good cosmetic surgery is anonymous. And they're right, that things cannot work out. So when they come to see us, for instance, if I'm seeing a facelift patient, I'll show them hundreds of pre- and post-op because they need to see not just one good result. They need to see lots of good results. And we certainly inform them thoroughly about it. And the last thing I tell every patient is two things. Number one, time is not of the essence. So take your time, do your homework. And two, if you're not 100% certain, don't do it.
Great words from Dr. Vincent Zubowicz. Dr. Zubowicz is the medical director of Thrive Medical Spa. Vince, this has been great. A lot of great information. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, it's fun talking to you.
Yeah.
You're a good interview.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But we got to get to the most important question, and Lisa's got the answer to that, which is how folks can get in touch, learn more, and you've got a special surprise for our listeners.
We do. First of all, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
To all your listeners, Dr. Z is very respected in this industry. So what a treat for me even to listen. Our practice is very welcoming, so we hope you'll come by.
Yep.
We are in the heart of Milton off of Mayfield Road. Our phone number is 470-462-2915. And we will be offering for 2024, the whole year, if you mention this slot on Business Radio X, we're offering 20% off your first medical spa service, whether that's a facial, or an injectable or something in our laser studio, just give us a call. We'll do a consultation for free and just talk to you about your next steps and what you may be interested in. So we hope to see you.
So if you're listening to this going down 400, don't run off the road and create the need for more surgery. It'll be on the show page, folks. So just check out the show page and we'll have a link or something there that will help get you to the right place.
You got it.
Absolutely. Lisa, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And again, Dr. Zubowicz, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, and thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, folks, just a couple of quick things before we let you go for today. I've got a book out. It's called The Generosity Mindset, A Journey to Business Success by Raising Your Confidence, Value, and Prices. So if you're a solo or small firm professional services provider, and pardon the pun, but you need a makeover of your confidence, you need a better mindset that helps you express your value and price your services better, this book may be for you. Go to thegenerositymindset.com to learn more, or you can find it, as the old saying goes, in your favorite book retailer, either physical or online. Also, I just want to thank you, our listeners. Y'all are terrific. You have supported us now. This is, I think, show number 762, I think, the last time I looked. And we've only gotten this far because of you. You continue to share the show with others that you think are interested in the services of our guests. And you also like us on social media. Please keep doing that because you help us help our guests and get the word out on the great work that they do. And you help us live into our mission to be the voice of business in the North Fulton region. So for my guest, Dr. Vincent Zubowicz, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.